Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hofadads and Dero, welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. As you know, November is the month for at least 3 holidays, so we all love it. And one of those being Veterans Day. We wanted to take a little time today to pay tribute to our veterans and for their service on behalf of all of us in the country. Joining me today is Brad Ruszala. We know him wearing many hats in the community, in the hotel industry, the government, the media, and I'm not sure how many people know that you're actually a veteran, Brad.
Yeah, that's right.
You posted very proudly on your Facebook page your photo back in the day when you joined the Army. How did that all come about?
Joining the Army? Well, it was really interesting. I was a junior in high school, and I was contemplating my future, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do in college, but I was pretty sure that I was going to grow up to have some kind of a boring office job. And so I wanted to do something that was going to be different than all of that. I had never fired a weapon before. I never went camping in the woods and never put on camouflage or any of that kind of stuff. And, you know, I saw a couple of videos. I took the ASVAB, actually. Before that, I took the ASVAB in high school. And just to take it, it was one of those things that, you know, you see it on the message board and all that. And I scored pretty well, and I got the opportunity to do a lot of different things, but I wanted to do that thing, whatever that was. You see those videos where those guys are out there training and all that. I'm like, that's what I want to try. Kind of, no one would have expected it from me. My parents certainly didn't. They were not the happiest that I chose the infantry.
Oh, really?
Yes, they were not, but they supported me, and so I signed up. My recruiter was Corporal Falcon. I'll never forget that. He came to the house, and then you know, my parents still, you know, they were thankful for his service, and they were thankful that I was interested, but they weren't the biggest fans of the infantry, and mainly because you know, when you think of what happens in the world and you think of soldiers going somewhere, the infantry are those soldiers, right? Mm-hmm. And Marines, I mean, they're also infantrymen. But that was it, and it was probably one of the best things I'd ever chosen to do.
Why do you feel that way?
So many reasons. One, I think as an adult now, looking back, and I should put like air quotes around that, right? But looking back on it, it's opened so many doors for me throughout my career, and gave me the opportunity to you know, to be a part of like these veterans organizations and Veterans Day events, and that's really nice. But instead of thinking like professionally and all that, just the friendship that I had, the friends that I had back, you know, I got out of the Army in 1995. You know, so I've been out 22 years. Yeah. You know, that's a long time, and I'm still friends. That was before Facebook. But I'm friends with my NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, and a couple of the officers, and my guys who served with me. We found each other on Facebook and all that. One of the other things was why I'm really thankful I did it is because of all the challenges that you go through when you're in. Basic training wasn't easy. Maybe for some people, but it wasn't for me. I mean, everything is a total adjustment to being told where to be, what to look like when you're there, what to carry, how far you're going to go. You push yourself to all these different limits. And when I thought that I was, you know, tired and exhausted and I couldn't go anymore, but while I was still doing that stuff, I was having those thoughts. So I'm like, oh, you know, I guess I'm not. If I can still do this stuff. And you never want to be. I did not want to be the guy who went home because he couldn't make it through basic training. You know, how do you have that conversation with your friends when you go back, or, you know, maybe they're going off to college or they have their regular jobs and all that stuff, and then what would I do? I'd be back at my parents' house at square one trying to figure out how I was going to pay for college and all that. So, but the challenges of and getting over them, finding out that I had that extra gear that I never knew about before. And, that really helped me for when I was playing hockey, when I was there, and when I came back home, and then when I came to Saipan, like playing so many years later, totally unrelated, but playing for the Saipan men's team. When Coach Ziggy came here and kicked our butt, it was the hardest thing since basic training. And what kept me going in that was knowing that somewhere, even if you don't know it, if you don't appreciate it right there, but there is an extra gear in there. So just keep going, keep digging, and find it. So professionally, I'm thankful for being in the service. Personally, with my friends, friendships, and then just getting that inner confidence from basic training and all the other hard stuff we went through. So that's a big answer for that question.
But it's a great answer. And you're now in a civilian job that kind of pulls from your experience in the military.
Yeah, I'm so glad this opportunity came up. It was last August I received a message from somebody that said, hey, this job closes tomorrow. You should really apply. And it was for the public affairs specialist for the Joint Region Marianas Saipan office, and this is our new office that opened here. And so to do that, that was a long process. Have you checked out that usajobs.gov?
I've heard of it.
All right, so it takes a while. All right, they ask you a million questions and all these different things, and that's just to set up your profile. And then when you apply for a job, they ask like how your rating is. Do you know about this? Do you not know about this? How would you rate yourself from 1 to 10? Like, I'm kind of okay, or I'm an expert in my field. You have to. It's a long process. So I applied for it, got interviewed, and got a tentative job offer. Then they had to do an extensive background check, as you might imagine, and then for security clearance, you have to do a whole lot.
So what did your job entail exactly as spokesperson?
Oh, wow. So public affairs. So I actually wear a little more hats than that because our office is only 2 people in Saipan, right? We operate
That's
mainly.
the way Saipan works. You're always wearing more than one hat.
Yeah. And it's the greatest thing for experience, too. It's not even a bad thing, if people don't appreciate what they've got here by virtue of like where we are, right? So being able to have those hats means you get to learn more about your job and the overall thing. But so I write speeches, I write press releases, I coordinate ComRel. Those are community relation events for visiting ships or dignitaries. Try to facilitate meetings, and that starts to slip into my secondary role, which is what they call POLMIL, which is political and military liaison, which I didn't envision that's what I was going to do, but I've been here for 15 years now, so I kind of know how things work. I know who the people are, so trying to set up meetings, try to come up with or knowing who the people are that make decisions and who to talk to in order to get things done, and also cultural sensitivity and knowing basically what'll fly here and what won't. Some of those attitudes when you come over
That's great.
From the mainland, just they don't work right. I had an adjustment when I came here too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're quite an asset to them. I was at the Veterans Day ceremony, the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour, of course, at American Memorial Park. You were the MC, at least for the second year in a row, I know that. Mm-hmm. But what I hadn't realized was you are also the commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars post here. Number one, for those that don't know, what is the Veterans of Foreign Wars?
Veterans of Foreign Wars, it was started as an association to kind of help get veterans the help they need for different things and to be able to communicate better. A lot of folks, when they get deployed and get sent off all around the world, they find themselves in a situation when they do come back. There are just some things you just can't talk about with the regular folks who haven't served. And if you do, they might not. They don't have the similar experience that you've had to understand some of the things that you're saying. It's not that we can't communicate with anybody else. Everybody can, but there's just some things that you see, some things that you do, and some things that you experience that only people with like experiences can really appreciate and share.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that, you know, when you do it, you know you're doing it free of judgment. Your friends and family, you know, they don't necessarily judge you for those kind of things, but, you know, having the opportunity to speak with people on a regular basis and being able to network with people on that regular basis really helps for that. So it's not just that it also helps people get network to get the health benefits that they need from the service. If they're having difficulty obtaining or even trying to maneuver through the system for getting their veterans health benefits or any of their veterans benefits, VFW kind of also lobbies on a bigger scale to the federal side in DC. So it's all that. It's a buddy system. It's a networking tool. It's a bunch of folks who help you get the benefits that you've earned when you're in the service.
You know, I remember when I was a kid or a young adult, and my father was in the Army Reserve. We used to go to the canteen when it was on Beach Road, and it was all mostly old guys, and it was more like a social club almost. And it's just wonderful to hear that. Well, on the one hand, I'm sure you have a lot of younger members now who have served in wars since that period I'm referring to. But it's nice to hear that, you know, you guys are provide these types of services, because we hear so much about how veterans, when they come back from war, they need these. They need people to talk to, and especially out here, they need access to these services that they're supposed to get. So it's nice to learn today that VFW is helping with that.
Well, you know, last year around this time is when I got nominated to do that 22 push-up for 22 days challenge, and that was to raise awareness for like the 22 service members who take their own lives every day, and having organizations like this help. By having a friendship with somebody that you may have not served directly with, that is another outlet for you to share. You know, people in the service are programmed really to get it done, whatever it is, to get it done, and not to have to ask for help. I mean, you should, right? It's something I've struggled with in the past, 22 years since I've gotten out, because trying to overcome that feeling that asking for assistance is a sign of weakness, and that is so difficult to do. And having people that not only that you turn to because you have a position within an organization, but because you have a bond with that person. That's another friend who won't think that you're looking weak by asking for help. That's one of those other benefits that we get.
Speak to us as civilians, family members, friends, who have people who've gone off and have come back. They've seen conflict. They've gone through conflict. What are some of the things that we should be aware of, and what are some of the things we can do to help them?
You know, it's just different for everybody. Everybody has their own challenges when they come back from something like that. They might need a little time alone from some time. You know, again, it's hard for them. One of the struggles is they do need some time alone sometimes, just to sort some stuff out. You know, there's sometimes that some things that'll run through your head that you just need to not be around people when you think about that stuff. Not long term, but then knowing that when they ask for something like that it's not that they don't want to be around anybody. They just need to work through some of those things. And it's hard to ask for something like that because you also get the internal conflict of, geez, you know, I don't want to look like, you know, I don't love them as much, or I don't want to spend as much time with them, when they absolutely do. But there's just, I think that's it. I mean, there's no prescribed solution to that question. It's just be there for them. Just be there for them.
Well, you really have a wealth of background in this area with all these positions you've held. I want to give you time for some final thoughts before we go, whatever is on your heart, whatever you feel is most important for us to walk away with today.
Well, I'm so thankful that we live in the CNMI, which is such a warm community with regards to our veterans. I remember, so many years ago when we lined the road, Airport Road, when our first fallen returned back from the global war on terror. That still moves me just thinking about that now. But it's not just that. It's not just waiting till someone passes away. We recognize our veterans here every day. Some would say that, there's still some troubles, there's still some things we could work on, and that's okay. But the effort's there, the sincerity is there, and our community is so loving in that regard. And we just couldn't ask for anything more than that. So I think that's it. Oh, it may be to reach out to family members or friends or any veterans who are listening today. If you served at all, and you need someone to talk to, you can call us. And by us, you can call me directly. You find me on Facebook, or you can just call me. We'll chat it up, maybe adult beverage, and we'll see if we can't find out what the next step is. But also, we had so many people who served our Commonwealth and our nation so courageously that haven't signed up for the VFW. I would love to have more local members, more younger members, folks who just got back, folks who have been back for a little while. Come on out. It's not just for people who retire in the service. It's for folks who were deployed. And if you deployed, come join us and let's talk and find out what we could do for you. Find out how you can help your community as a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and continue to serve in just your civilian capacity.
And I think a lot of people probably drive by the VFW post and may not even realize where it is. Let us know where you're at.
Oh, yeah. It's in Garapan, the western Garapan area. And it's on this cross street, excuse me, right down the street from Godfathers. I don't remember the name of the street there. But it's on the second floor. You'll see all the flags flying. We've got that post canteen is the thing that a lot of people recognize. And in the back, upstairs, we also have the office, and that's where we do all the meetings. And our meetings are third Thursday every month. But all you have to do is pop in, walk upstairs, Saipan Post 3457, and we'll be happy to get you all the information you need to become a member, or just to chat you up a little bit.
All right. Thanks so much for your time and insight today, Brett.
Thank you.
Our guest today for the first half of our show has been Brad Ruszala, sharing his experience as a veteran and commander of the local VFW post. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all of our veterans who have served out there and continue to serve as well. Coming up in the second half of our show, we'll be looking at Tinaotao Marianas, the recent documentary on the peopling of the Marianas, after this break.
Did you know that you can donate up to $5,000 to the Humanities Council through the CNMI Education Tax Credit Program? Donations from individuals and corporations qualify and can be used to offset your local wage and salary tax, BGRT, and earnings tax. Call our office at 235-4785 to see how you can support humanities programs in our community and obtain a tax credit for your donation. Sizuus Maasi, Olomai, and thank you.
On October 24th, Rlene Santos Steffy, an ethnographer and oral history practitioner, presented her television series Tinaotao Marianas to the public here in the Marianas at American Memorial Park Visitors Center. This documentary series looks into the peopling of the Marianas from 1521 through 1898. It includes topics such as immigration, clan structure, the galleon trade, education, and the role of teachers in history. Following the presentation, Steffi also presented a 2-day oral history workshop at Cagman High School. Both events were free and open to the public, courtesy of the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. Here now are a few excerpts from Season 1 and 2 of Tinaotao Marianas.
As part of San Vittorio's mission, the galleon captain, Admiral Nito, took Kapuha into a private meeting, and there's an actual report of this, sat him down and told him that the Spanish would bestow munificent rewards on him and his people if he cared for and took care of the Jesuit mission. And in the next breath, he told him that if they are harmed, we will come back here and destroy you. So that has to be factored into Kapuha's calculations.
Maybe it was the voice of a clan decision that was taken in a consensual way. Or maybe it was the voice of his wife that told, give them the land. We don't know. We don't know.
And I believe that he found himself between a rock and a very hard place. On the one hand, he was presented with the opportunity of welcoming these Spaniards ashore. If he didn't, some other island or chief may have. If he did, he probably could see that there was going to be a lot of problems.
If we're talking Hagåtña and we're talking Kipuha, right, we don't know what was going on in Hagåtña at the time or between Hagåtña and surrounding villages. We don't know this.
So he had the Spanish officers on the one hand leaning on him saying they would punish him and his people if he didn't take care of the Spanish. On the other hand, he had to somehow blend them into society in a way that, you know, made them allies, if you will, or supporters of the Hagåtña chiefs without antagonizing others. So he was in a very, very difficult place. And at his age, it must have been a very difficult 6 or 7 months for him after the mission came ashore.
Communication in this island are not easy. So there was a tradition, even in America, Latin America, we are not talking about highways and a priest can take a car and visit somebody that is dying or go and make catechesis. So since the Patronato Real, that is the obligation of the crown to evangelize, was primary, first. So what the Spaniards realized and the priests is that the easy way to do it is to concentrate population in villages.
Saipan, in the 1730s, there was an epidemic, and eventually most of the people died, and the few remaining survivors were transported to, I don't know if it's Guam or Rota.
But the Tinian people were taken, directly after the battle at Aguiguan. They didn't really have much of a chance. There were a few people that were left on Saipan, but I think then they were transported when there was enough canoes to do so.
So of course they do not expect that they will spread the viruses faster, as they don't have an ethnographical vision of the island. Right?
So they were reduced at that point, and then they were further reduced when they were brought to Guam. Those numbers are probably recorded. I would think maybe 300 to 400 people.
They die once they arrive, or in the process, but mostly when they arrive. Once this island has been reduced, we know that we control the population, there's no more rebels. All those who are rebels could be punished if they are found.
The last revolt was when they burned the church in Ritidian in the north. They were sleeping, and the priests say that a group of the Juritaos, came and burned the church and burned the house where the Gros were sleeping, and they fled in their canoes to the northern islands.
And the Spanish, of course, responded in kind and burned the men's house. They were obviously resisting change at a level that was uncomfortable to them. They obviously allowed a priest to build this church. I'm sure the community is the one that built the church, not the priest. So the community was in some way accepting some of these different views, outside views, but something came to a head, which led to violence.
I was fishing around, for some other things that I missed. And one thing that I missed was the Uratao's house. A lot is made of that in the literature. Oh, San Vittorio says you can't have Uratao's house. You're going to have to chase out the girls. All right. You know, San Vittorio saw that, as other missionaries did in other parts of Micronesia. San Vittorio saw that as a moral evil. But whether there were Uratao's houses or not, people were still doing night crawling in some form or other.
I think what preceded the burning of the church at Letekjan was an attempt by the priest to halt the traditional practice in the Guma Ulitao, the men's house, of what scholars today call institutionalized prostitution in Chamorro. That's Maulitao, when a woman is placed in the men's house. And this particular traditional practice was really frowned upon by the priests, and it was a real sore point for them. And I think the villagers at that time just didn't appreciate the priest imposing himself on them in the way that he did.
And actually, the Uratao's house was no big thing. I mean, remember, they had the same sort of thing, you know, men's houses or clubhouses in Palau and in Yap. And they were gotten rid of in Yap and in Palau very easily without any serious repercussions.
Men's house is a very important institution in a village. That is the residence not only of the unmarried males, but that's the meeting place of all of the men of that particular village. There's a lot of power that's in the men's house, and I think it came down to who was in control of that village in the end.
The literature in the Marianas tells us that by the 1670s, 30 had been destroyed, not closed but destroyed. And the literature goes on to say that another 30 were closed in a single year. That wasn't a year that was punctuated by warlike hostilities. That was a normal year. So let's not exaggerate the importance of the Uratao's house. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as most Chamorros at that time would have testified to.
You know, the Spanish Empire built itself on saving all these souls. You know, if you think about what we say about what you say about God, do you think he appreciates that? Do you think he wants that done in his name? The fact that he received like thousands of new believers, quote unquote believers, quote unquote faithful converts now, who were forced into it through coercion, through intimidation. And so I say, you know, this is the truth of the history, is that it doesn't matter like if only this many people died or this many people died. The whole thing is immoral. The whole thing is immoral. Because in order for you to say it's moral, you have to argue that some people have a right to go into other people's houses and take whatever they want. Some people, because they're better, because they believe different things, because they have better stuff, because they have different skin color, they have the right to go somewhere else and do whatever they want. And so, and hopefully most people believe that that's not right, that's not true, that's immoral. And if you do believe that's immoral, then you have to say that it was all wrong. That even if their children became Catholics because of it, it's fruit of the poison tree. It's still based on a terrible set of sins, like it's not real.
Ultimately, I think the Chamorros are a kind of a survivor race. That it's part of our thousands of years of development, you know, and I think that people should take pride in that. Not shame that we've changed, but pride that actually every change we made along the way has been part of our survival and part of our improvement. Every generation made decisions to say, okay, now how are we going to make this better? Okay, so let's change this, let's change that, now it's going to be better and stronger. Every generation has had different kinds of challenges, but in the end, I mean, where we're going is basically just to try to make things better for Guam. And I think that people have been doing this for thousands of years.
And better for themselves.
Yes, and their children, their families, right, to have the best possible today, right?
We've been listening to excerpts from the DVD series Tinaotao Marianas, presented by ethnographer and oral history practitioner Rlene Steffy at American Memorial Park Visitors Center on October 24th. This documentary series interviews a number of scholars on the peopling of the Marianas from 1521 through 1898. Seasons 1 and 2 of the series are now available for purchase. This has been Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.